Bringing Everyone Up to Speed. September 16, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. We have the civilian government, which is the government of the people, for the people, by the people, our civilian government, which is supposed to be ruling the roost and giving the orders to our employees. We are born as state nationals and accrue our nationality from our states, Wisconsinites, Virginians, Coloradans, etc. We are properly described as state citizens of the United States. Please notice the United States, not the United States. We are supposed to be in control of the public purse and making all the decisions about what goes on inside this country, and also supposed to be directing our course of action in international affairs. However, things went wrong back in the 1860s. Our government is supposed to extend its power into the international arena via its Confederation of States, the States of America, which was founded in 1781. Under our plan of government, we have both a federation state, which is a geographically defined area and its body politic of people living within that area, and a confederation state, which is organized as a business and service organization operating in international and global venues on behalf of our state. The federation state known as Massachusetts is supposed to be served by a confederation state known as the state of Massachusetts. Notice, the state of Massachusetts, not the state of Massachusetts, and not the state of Massachusetts. During the Civil War, this system was disrupted and has never been reconstructed. Foreign business and service organizations secretively substituted themselves for our American Confederation of States, and thereby usurped the power of our intended federal government. The usurping business and service organizations were fronted first by Britain, beginning in 1868, and later, the Papal Municipal United States government got into the act, too. This was only made possible because our military failed us and was misled. Men like Grant and Sherman had no experience in international politics and were easily lied to and led astray in the chaos immediately following the end of hostilities. Contrary to what we are left to believe, the entire Civil War was fought by Confederate states, that is, by members of the Confederation of States. Both the North and the South were Confederate states of states. The American Civil War was, therefore, a mercenary war between business organizations. Read that the Civil War had nothing to do with the sovereign states of the Federation doing business as the United States of America. We, the actual states and people, were not involved. It was a fight among our federal service provider organizations. By 1863, the Northern Confederation was bankrupt. Lincoln turned to military command and issued the first executive order as Commander-in-Chief, which is known both as General Order 100 and as the Lieber Code, and from then on, we have lived under a military protectorate. By 1865, the Southern Confederation was in ruins and the Northern Confederation still in bankruptcy. The physical ruin was overcome in about 25 years, but the political ruin has continued. Once empowered, the military didn't want to give up that power. The military protectorate, which began as an emergency measure, became entrenched. Meantime, the Papist municipal government of the District of Columbia stepped into the role of the civilian government, secretively substituting its civil government, as in federal civil service, for our civilian government. Thus we have had two groups of foreign-sponsored federal employees substituting for our intended American Confederation of States for many decades, and these dishonest, disloyal interlopers have conspired to wreck this country and pillage our people in the name of the legitimate government. So where is the legitimate government? Lulled to sleep. On autopilot. The government of the people, for the people, and by the people still exists, and will exist as long as one American stands up for it, but while we sleep, the foreign federal service providers continue to run amok, continue to misadminister our affairs, and continue to abuse our people under color of law. The fundamental premise of their operations is to involve us in constant war via the unauthorized exercise of our presumed consent, have us fight these wars for them, then have us pay the war reparations for them, and they keep the profits. Thus, our peaceful country and our kindly people have been abused and used as the hammer for these European manipulators. This results first and foremost in the death and maiming of our young people, and secondarily in the pillaging, oppression, and enslavement of our older people. As we have fallen deeper into our slumber and ignorance about our own past and our own government, the European powers actually responsible have become more corrupt, more virulent, and more obviously criminal in their activities, which are of course, all blamed on us, the same Americans who are in fact being grossly victimized by their own hired help. By the time we woke up and began our organized action to reclaim the actual government and sound the alarm, the perpetrators had almost reached their goal, exclusive legislative representation. Almost. But enough of us woke up and stood tall, and now they are the ones who have to answer to our account. Both the Queen and the Pope are in gross breach of trust and in gross violation of their commercial service contracts. Both are responsible for the actions of every one of these service organizations on our shores since 1868. The military is also responsible for allowing the civil government to usurp upon the civilian government. Instead of assisting our civilian government to hold new elections and national plebiscites in the wake of the Civil War, the military decided to take control and collude with the papist municipal authorities to put on a show, a masquerade, in which the civil government would replace the civilian government and the military would pretend to obey it. Over time, of course, the appearance became the reality and the military was subjected to the usurping civil government via the municipal government's control of the public purse, which they have all been pillaging in our names for multiple generations. These are criminal activities, all predicated on fraud. We have returned, although we never actually left, to find that our country is in ruins, our substance eaten away by these criminals, our wealth transported offshore where they have planned to use it to buy off other governments into their control scheme, the duty to assemble our actual states and to enforce the constitutions and to finish the task of reconstruction of the Confederation is set before us. But before we can do this, we must reclaim our natural birthright character and identity as Americans and as state citizens of the United States, not United States citizens, territorials, and not citizens of the United States. Municipals. Almost all of our records regarding our actual nationality and political status have been deliberately falsified. Our disloyal and criminal public servants have conspired to create a gigantic identity theft scheme against the American people and have committed genocide against us on paper. They have misidentified us as members of their foreign organizations, in order to access our credit and bring false claims in commerce against our assets. We are officially and internationally making everyone aware of these actions by the Pope and the Queen and their minions on our shores, and we are calling up the United Nations and all countries owing us support via treaty and contract to bring forceful international assistance to bear upon these matters and to compel the following immediate actions. 1. Shut down the municipal courts which have been used as private collection agencies while pretending to operate in juridical capacities related to us. 2. Shut down the IRS and retask the Internal Revenue Service to efficiently process mutual offset credit exchange exemption claims. 3. Notify the government of the Philippines that the United States of America is alive and well and coming to claim its part of the gold hoard. 4. Notify the World Bank of the same. 5. Notify The Hague that both the United States municipal government operating in our names and the United States of America territorial government operating in our names have violated the Hague Conventions and practiced genocide against their employers. 6. Notify the Geneva Convention members of the same. 7. Notify President Trump of the circumstance and the necessity to correct the falsified political status records and reinstate approximately 150 million American electors, enabling them to vote in the 2020 elections without any compromise of their political status. 8. Engage in a broad-spectrum educational effort to bring the American public up to speed and enable them to act in their own rational self-interest. Besides spreading the word, what do you as an American need to do? Those who are not under any obligation to adopt federal citizenship are advised to get busy and correct your own individual political status records, reclaiming your birthright as an American state national, and, if you love your country, then join your state assembly. The Federation states are called to assemble and to conduct business for the first time in 150 years. Only those claiming their unique office as state citizens can participate, and all those who thus assemble must be either American state nationals by birth, or naturalized state nationals who have entered the country legally and who have officially adopted state citizenship. These are serious issues that require everyone's immediate attention. Federal citizens, both United States citizens and citizens of the United States, are called upon to support the actual civilian government of this country, which is, in fact, your primary and actual duty. All international organizations and governments are placed on alert. The Queen and the Pope are called upon to honor their obligations to the American states and people and to voluntarily and immediately cease and desist. 1. All attempts to engage our country in any more wars, mercenary or otherwise. 2. All false claims against American property assets. 3. All false claims of abandonment of our assets. 4. All conscription and child labor contracts. 5. All press ganging. 6. All falsification of our nationality and political status records. 7. Close the municipal courts which have no business operating on our shores. 8. Shut down the IRS and retask the Internal Revenue Service to accept and process mutual offset credit exchange exemption claims. 9. Release our assets being claimed by the Federal Reserve and drop the dead baby scam operations. 10. Discipline and redirect all members of the bar associations. 11. Return all state trust assets to the lawful owners. The Pope and the Queen and all their subsidiary personnel are also hereby requested to expedite the correction of American passports and identification cards and to speed up the issuance of correct identification cards owed to us under the Geneva Conventions. The entire world knows what you owe us, and the entire world now sees how both the pontificate and the British government have mistreated, lied to, cheated, and abused your most loyal allies and treaty partners. Without the American people and without the use of American resources, both your governments would have been wiped off the face of the earth a long time before this. A prompt and permanent reconciliation and correction is called for, along with negotiation regarding your respective debts and obligations to us going forward. Mr. Trump and Joint Chiefs and gray hats, white hats, whatever. The military owes its honor to honorable service and earns it no other way. You have been used as self-interested useful idiots by these named European powers to enforce a criminal system of political genocide and oppression upon the American people, your employers. How stupid is that? Even given the plots to change your base of operations to China and all your efforts to remove our wealth offshore and keep it cashiered in slush funds, you can't succeed. The days when the Dutch East India Company could just sail over the horizon are over. The plots to use the municipal agencies to kill your priority creditors are also exposed. Stop trying to deny what has gone on here and stop trying to finagle some justifiable excuse to continue it. Do your job, protect us. That is all your contract calls for, to defend the American states and people. You have been doing a piss-poor job and acting as predators upon us, instead. If we sound a bit testy, we are. All federal employees need to get back in their boxes and assigned duty stations performing their actual jobs. Your contracts are all hanging by a thread, and if you don't jump to it and assist us in reclaiming the assets owed to this country, you will be in financial default by October 4th. Get moving.